CTV News at 6 with Hudson Mack.
Good evening. Thank you for being here. We begin this hour with more from Centennial Square. Allegations from the union that represents outside workers for the city of Victoria that one of its members, doused in urine yesterday morning, was forced into an unsafe situation. As we first told you last night, a protester at the Occupy Victoria camp dumped urine onto a city worker who was trying to take down a bicycle hanging from a tree. The union says tonight that should never have happened and speaks exclusively with CTV's Stephen Andrew. He joins us now live with the latest in this developing story. Stephen.
Hudson, the city says it's under investigation and they are looking into it. But this is what the union is saying to us just moments ago.
The police has instructed the city managers to send to make sure everybody steered clear of the square, and one of our members ended up, as far as I understand it, having some liquid dumped on him. We're just disappointed that a manager would be on site and direct an employee into that situation.
The city tells us the worker agreed to go up and do this work.
The manager in charge was on site, and the worker, when the individual in the tree started to object to what was going on, the worker looked at the manager, as I understand it, and asked whether or not he should proceed, and the manager on site directed him to, yeah, go ahead, cut the thing down.
Now, Hudson, as we've been following this story over the past few days, every time that city workers or bylaw enforcement have gone into that square, they've generally gone with police officers. So when we captured this incident yesterday with our camera, we asked police why they weren't on hand to help the city worker. We were told to turn to the city. The spokesperson merely shrugged his shoulders. When we turned to the city said, you know what, the workers didn't feel like it was unsafe. Now, the city is investigating this, as I mentioned. They say they won't make that investigation public, but the union is now seeking legal advice. It wants to know exactly what happened, who put that worker up there, and they want to know what's going to be done in the future. And also, there is no word from the city yet, Hudson, whether the worker has any health concerns about the situation that occurred yesterday.
Now, earlier today, he didn't want to talk about it, which is understandable, although tonight we know that because it's a personnel investigation, Stephen, the city says the people involved can't talk?
Yeah, we've asked to talk. We've said, you know, we just want to talk about exactly how he's feeling. The city says, no, that's absolutely not going to happen. They'll put their senior managers up. They feel that they've said enough about this right now. It's a personnel investigation, and that's the way it's going to remain. How long they're going to continue with that line is unsure right now.
All right, Stephen Andrew reporting. Stephen, thanks.
You're welcome.
Meantime, the man accused of dumping the urine came down from the tree last night, and he is in custody undergoing a mental health assessment. The tents are still there in the square tonight, and the protesters are also busy building a more permanent structure that is apparently an interfaith chapel.
It's relatively quiet at the Occupy Victoria encampment today. Even the tree at the center of so much activity yesterday is deserted. It was here a city worker was doused in urine by a tree-squatting protester as the worker tried to remove a bike hanging in the tree's branches. And under the cover of darkness last night, police and a social worker talked the protester down, taking him in for a mental health evaluation and removing his belongings from the tree.
Right now, we're just looking at one charge of assault.
And since the Occupy Victoria protest began in Centennial Square, it has been the single biggest drain on police resources. And now a group of homeless advocates is critical of how police are dealing with the city's street population. It says a survey of 100 homeless shows many people living with mental health or addiction issues believe they are being unfairly targeted or treated.
By focusing heavily on enforcement, we're actually taking resources away from the solutions to the problems that we see facing the street community in Victoria.
Big PD says enforcement is just part of its work. Social workers and police, called boycott teams, are visiting the encampment almost daily, handing out information on available shelter beds and other resources.
They found a number of empty tents. They found a number of people who had residence and declined our services. They were able to identify one previous boycott client who they've reconnected with and offered services to others where appropriate.
But that is little comfort to Herman and her researchers. They want the city to abandon its court action that would force the protesters out.
While the city is looking for their campers to pack up their tents and leave by the November 15th deadline, the opposite appears to be true. The protesters are now building more permanent structures.
Health officials, meantime, are monitoring the situation and say so far they have found no serious health concerns. Police, too, are keeping a close eye on the square, hoping, like so many other camping protests in the city, this one will end peacefully. Stephen Andrew, CTV News, Victoria.